I'm Jack Crutchfield, and welcome to Obscurely Famous Graves. Today's show is about Kanawha County, West Virginia, the largest county in our state for population, the second largest county geographically, and it's the home to Charleston, our state capital. I think that says enough on how many treasures are waiting here to be found. I'm actually coming to you from the Capitol complex where we're going to begin, and I will warn you, as much as there is to see here, I had to do a part 1 and a part 2. And I'm still just scratching the surface. But before we get started, let me ask you a riddle. Here's the riddle. Over on the boulevard, there's a monument to a man. And I don't even think anybody knows the monument's there, much less who it's to. See if you can figure out who it is. I'll give you a hint. I will bet every person in West Virginia has said this man's name by the time they're 12 years old. That's a pretty good hint. I'm heading over to the other side of the Capitol. I'll see you over there in a minute. This is the West Virginia Veterans Memorial on the other side of the Capitol complex. And while not obscurely famous, I think it's something you need to see. Take a look. The West Virginia Veterans Memorial, a monument to the 10,000 plus West Virginians that sacrificed their lives in wars after 1900. And the reason for that is because records were so spotty before that they couldn't compile accurate records. Remember that it's here. Now, I'm heading to Elkview. I'll see you up there. I made it. This is the Summer Cemetery in Elkview, West Virginia, and there are 2 people in it, and that's the reason it's called the Summer Cemetery. James Calvin Summers and his daughter Sarah. And James Calvin Summers was awarded the Medal of Honor during the Civil War. Here's what we know about him. James Calvin Summers was born February 14, 1838. He served as a private in the Union Army in Company H, 4th West Virginia Infantry. He was awarded the Medal of Honor on May 22, 1863 for action at Vicksburg, Mississippi. His citation reads, "Gallantry in charge of the volunteer storming party." The details may be lost to us now, but imagine volunteering to lead a party and charge enemy fire in a battle that had 19,000 casualties. James Calvin Summers. James Calvin Summers, awarded the Medal of Honor in the Civil War, came back to Elkview, West Virginia, and lived out the rest of his life. Let's don't forget this hero. And there's another hero close by, and he's just right up the road. This is the Sand Run Cemetery in Young's Bottom, West Virginia, about 4 or 5 miles from Elkview. And there's a man here I'd like you to see. His name is Captain John Young. One of the first settlers in the Kanawha Valley, Captain Young had 11 kids and was commissioned by George Washington himself, as an Indian spy in this area. He helped build Fort Lee, and he helped defend Fort Tackett, even rescuing his wife and infant son in a daring canoe raid. He has a DAR chapter named after him, which means he is remembered, but I felt like everybody needed to know that we have a bona fide Revolutionary War hero buried right here in Young's body. Captain John Young. If you're ever up this way, check him out. I'm heading back into the city. This is Staunton Park in South Charleston, and it's the home of the Creole Mound, also known as the Indian Mound. But do you know the obscurely famous aspect of it? Because there are bodies buried there. Here's the story. The Creole Mound is a Native American burial mound located in South Charleston, West Virginia. It was built by the Adena culture probably around 250 to 150 BC. It was originally 33 feet high and 173 feet in diameter at the base, making it the second largest in West Virginia. The Grave Creek Mound in Moundsville is the largest. It was originally conical in shape. Incredibly, residents of the area leveled the top in 1840 to erect a judge's stand as they ran horse races around the base of the mound. Reports vary as to how many bodies rest here. Some say 14, some say 13. There were originally about 50 mounds in an 8-mile area, making it the second largest known concentration of Adena mounds. But many are gone today. It remains a centerpiece of Staunton Park and is maintained by the city of South Charleston. The Creole Mound, final resting place of Native Americans that died over 2,000 years ago. The Creole Mound, home to a civilization lost to us now, but at least we know they were here. Now, let's go find some more obscurely famous graves in South Charleston that aren't quite so old. This is Sunset Memorial Park in South Charleston, and it was founded in 1925, sits on about 50 acres. And I've got 4 obscurely famous people I'd like to show you today. So let's get started. This is our first stop at Sunset Memorial Park, and the man's name is Walter Powell. And I'll bet that most of you have never heard of Walter Powell, but I'll bet you know him by his nickname, Wat Powell, the man that Wat Powell Baseball Park was named after. Walter Wat Powell grew up near Hot Springs, Virginia, and moved to Charleston in 1915. He managed the Charleston Senators of the Class C Middle Atlantic League in the 30s, and it was he who convinced city officials to build a new ballpark. He not only managed the baseball team, but worked as a chief of the Division of State Parks and served on city council. He even found time to run a billiards room in the Kanawha Hotel. The ballpark itself was built for $250,000, and that's about $2 to $3 million in today's dollars. It originally seated 6,000, but was reduced to 5,000 in the 1980s. Here's a quick fact. Minute Maid Park in Houston is the largest park in the major leagues, 435 feet to center field. Wat Powell Park was 420 to center with a 12-foot wall, and that's a minor league park. The ball would have to be 12 feet off the ground at 420 feet just to be a home run. I think the game has changed a little. Powell was a constant fixture in Charleston athletics, as well as serving the city in many ways. When he died in 1948, the new baseball park was named for him when it opened in 1949. It was torn down in 2005, but we need to remember a part of Charleston's history. Walter Wat Powell. Wat Powell, the man that Wat Powell Park was named after. The stadium may be gone, but his legacy lives on. He did a lot for Charleston. Now, here's something that has never happened before at Obscurely Famous Graves. Our next stop is literally right next door, so I'm walking over here to show you. His name is Herbert Joseph Thomas, Marine Sergeant Herbert Joseph Thomas.
and he was awarded the Medal of Honor during World War II. Let me tell you a hero story.